Over 100 years ago, the first Adventist church was built in Africa, right here in Kimberley, in Beaconsfield. Today, we are going to visit this historic site with leaders from the General Conference, from the SID, as well as the SAU.
As William Hunt came here in 1871, there was no infrastructure. They lived in tents. They just started to dig into the grounds. There was really nothing around. And these adventurers who came here, giving up on everything just to make a fortune, coming into this place, don't know what is in front of them. You need to be a special character. And in this kind of environment, to live your faith faithfully is not easy. But he did it. And because of him, because he was so different, the man who was the most lazy man in town because he kept 2 Sundays, that puts you on the stage as a target. But he stood faithfully. And I think this is something we can draw from for everybody of us. You don't need to become a minister. You don't need to become a teacher. You even don't need to become a trained evangelist. If you live out your faith daily, people will see it. They will ask you why you act this way. And that will open you the doors to testify for Jesus. And I think that's what we can learn from the history in a very special way. And the history of our pioneers is not this far away like the stories in the Bible. We can way more relate to this. So I'm very happy that we had this day today. And for me, it's always nice to be here in Kimberley, where the cradle of Adventism is in South Africa.
It's been a real pleasure for me to be part of this historic meeting where we were dedicating or setting aside the Beaconsfield Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Kimberley, the first Adventist church in South Africa, and I think we would say the first on the continent of Africa, which started in 1887. And that church is still existing. Mainly the way it was set up is still there. It's been very reviving for me, and I want to believe for everyone that has participated in this program.
What a time, what a place to be. There are many firsts in Kimberley here, first in terms of diamond, first in terms of street lights, first as well for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a first church 1890 established here in the whole of Africa.
But more than that, I think there's a truth in the saying that we have no reason to be afraid of the future, except as we shall forget our past. So going back to the past is also an inspiration for how we can meet the challenges of today. Because what we saw is the difficulties and the challenges they met in the past as we go and look at the historical events. And then we see that even there's a hope for us with all the challenges we are facing today, that if we study and see and take a journey into the past where we see God's footprints, the same God who led in the past is the God who's going to shape our present, who's going to be with us in our present and shape our future. So it has been a very inspiring. Actually, I can tell you, if there were people they were not Adventist, I'm sure at the end of that trip they would want to be baptized. That's how inspiring it was.
God uses history when he sees, that there are opportunities for the gospel to spread. And Beaconsfield Church here in Kimberley is no different. Because at the time when diamonds were discovered, a prospector, William Hunt, came here. And at that time, God used the circumstances, the discovery of diamonds, to establish the work here. And from here, it spread across Africa. Today, we have more than 11 million SDA church members across Africa. In our division, the Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division, our membership now stands at 4,400,123. And I wonder what incredible surprise it will be on the resurrection morning when our pioneers see how God has placed them and has led them at specific times, to spread the gospel. And God is an amazing planner.
This place is very special. It's just that maybe over the years we neglected it, but the Lord kept His hand on it until we would, remember what we had forgotten, and we have come, to kickstart the good work of the Heritage Ministry. And I want to encourage those who are going to view your communication, your videos, to come and also experience what we have experienced today. It gives identity, especially African identity, when you can see the roots of our church within our country.
But today, we are reviving history of Africa, where the work began in Africa, and it is an exciting day to see so many people from all levels of our church, general conference, division, union, conferences that have gathered here to celebrate God's wonderful work. And it is an exciting day, and we are hoping that it will have a ripple effect throughout Southern Africa, throughout Africa and the world, so that people may know that Jesus is coming soon. As our pioneers believed, and they slept in the faith, knowing that Jesus is coming again.
So we are here to launch it as a heritage site. It's already a provincial heritage site on the side of the government, but it's now going to be a heritage site for the Adventist Church. It's going to be the first one that we are having in our SAU territory, which is the Southern Africa Union Conference, but we are going to identify others because we are hoping to eventually have a heritage tour where people are able to see the first churches, first buildings, first mission homes, first different things, first institutions, first colleges, so that you can see how the work started, not just the history of the Adventist Church, but the message that comes with the history, so that people can be able to know not just the fact that the Adventist Church existed and this is where it started, but most importantly, this is the message of the Adventist Church. So we're very happy in the Southern Africa Union Conference to be able to launch this, because long term we'll see a heritage tour that will be interesting to people, not only who are members of the church, but people who like tourism, people who like history, and they'll be able to be exposed not only to our history, but to our message.
Today is such a surreal day, very exciting, especially as a child of Kimberley. In fact, I got so excited when this inauguration was planned, because I was actually baptized at that church many, many years ago. And the significance of it for us as those that come from Kimberley is to realize that we may be in a semi-desert, somehow geographically excluded from everybody, but we are not forgotten. In God's mega plan, this is where He planted the seed.
And if God can do that through someone like William Hunt, what can He do through you and me as we give our lives to Him? So I think our church leaders here have, and those who have been here, have felt a new sense that heritage and understanding the story of God's working in the past can be very personally transforming in a person's life and can also draw people to God. So I hope that this site, the church, the first church here in the southern part of Africa and perhaps on the whole continent, and also the grave and the other sites, will help people think about what God has done and what He can do for us today and in the future as we look for Him to come.
Today we had leaders from the General Conference accompanied by leaders from the SID as well as the SAU to establish the Beaconsfield SDA Church as a heritage site. This is Karabo Moka reporting for SAU Media News from Kimberley.